Hi, Dr. Bo.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank
Happy
you.
World Sight Day.
Happy World Side Day to you too.
Thank you so much for taking the time to join me today. I know it's a busy day in the eye health world, so I appreciate you taking the time. So, the theme of World Sight Day this year is Hope in Sight. So, what does that mean to you?
Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Boatin Wiafe. I'm an ophthalmologist and also I'm advisor, technical advisor to Operation Eyesight Universal. I live in Ghana after having lived in Zambia for many, many years. And because you asked about the theme for the World Sight Day, this is a very, very interesting theme. You know, 2020 has been a year of extraordinary changes because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And it has actually cut across the whole world and is still causing its havoc. And as a result of this, in most countries, if not every country, all the other programs had to hold somehow so that everyone was employed to address this COVID-19 pandemic. Eye health professionals inclusive were drafted. I personally was in a committee in the district where we work, planning the activities of the COVID-19. Now that things have come under control and the restrictions are being eased, we are getting back to business, okay? But then there is hope in sight because there has been lots of learnings that has come as a result of this pandemic. Lots of cans of worms have been unveiled. We now know where the gaps are and have learned to accommodate to the new normal. Things like telemedicine, telehealth now had to be used, even though they were being used on a rudimentary basis. Experience in primary eye care activities where health is brought as close to the communities as possible also has been one of the recommendations for the new normal, that everything should be brought as close as possible to the community so that there's no congregation, just to respect the, what do you call it, social distancing. Another important thing is the cross-sectoral collaborations. In other words, several sectors, not only health, came together to help fight the coronavirus. And I'm talking of education, information. You look at child care, you're looking at social welfare, and name it, several of these. And so out of these learnings, it brings us that there is hope in sight, in the sense that if we brought all these on board, coming back to our eye work with all that has been learned since the year 2000, with programming, with planning, with getting the burden in hand, we are able to actually have hope that we can combat this menace of blindness and low vision in our communities. Hence, the hashtag Hope in Sight.
Amazing. You really hit it on the head there with everything that you brought up. I appreciate you bringing up what's been going on during COVID-19 because I know from the conversation we had with Crisis Next, you did talk a lot about, telehealth becoming more prevalent in your community and some of the things that just got sped up in Ghana for you guys because of having to pivot to COVID-19. So I really find it fascinating the way you guys were all able to kind of adapt and move forward. I know there's been some challenges. What's been some of the biggest challenges you have faced in providing quality eye care in these areas that you work? And maybe we can talk a little bit about some of those challenges of COVID-19 as well.
Well, first and foremost is a human resource. I'm talking of quantities the number of people that have the skills to deliver eye health. In Africa, in low and middle income countries, the average is one ophthalmologist per million population, okay? And then when you talk about the ophthalmic nurses, the optometrists, and all those trained personnel, we are very, very low in those numbers. As if that is not enough, the distribution is very skewed because everybody wants to be in the capital city. And so where the need is, we don't have as much people. In fact, the survey which we did, and we spearheaded it in 2015 in Ghana, it was confirmed that the prevalence of blindness is higher in the remote areas of the country as opposed to the cities. And most of it is because of lack of human resources. And so we have the distribution, we have the numbers, as well as the mix, okay? And so, and in eye care, we need to have a complete team to function. By the team, I mean you need the ophthalmologist, who is the eye surgeon, you need the optometrist, you need ophthalmic nurses, you also need technicians, you need maintenance people to service the equipment so that they are functioning at all times, and managers as well. And so you hardly come across a complete team. And that is those things that are actually hindering the progress of our work here in our country. The second most is also regarding equipment, because equipment and supplies have to be imported. With the COVID-19, when travel ban and nothing was moving, there was the lockdowns, it was very difficult. But thank God we have gone across that bridge. And so we are trying to come back with what we have in hand.
Are you finding that more people or more local people in Ghana are starting to become trained in eye health, or is that still kind of an issue you see moving forward as this human resource issue that you guys are facing down there?
It is still a challenge, but we're doing all we can to try and increase the number of people that agree to go and do ophthalmology. Again, that brings us the issue of motivation and job satisfaction. Again, for a skilled person, for that person to be motivated, they need the tools to work with, equipment. That is one of the challenges that we have. And so we're trying to encourage the young doctors to get into the profession, and hopefully we'll be able to get them, because if there's nobody there, there's no need to bring equipment to set. Yeah, so that's the issue we have at hand right now. So once there is equipment, we'll be able to actually also attract more people into the profession.
And you've been in eye health care for over 35 years. You have a very long career in this industry. So can you tell me about some of the changes that you've seen over your career, and if there are 2 lessons that we can learn from the past moving into the future?
Oh yeah, actually ophthalmology is a dynamic profession, and eye health, I would say, is pretty new, just looking at it from a broader view. And now there's so much focus on eye health. By that I mean public health approach to eye care. And so that is one big change. And since the year 2000, there's this Vision 2020, which has brought another big impetus into the eye care world, in the sense that we are looking at the magnitude of the eye health issues and how to go about it, okay? And so once we know the burden, we're able to now strategize and plan to reduce the burden. And for me, that is the biggest thing that has happened. And because of that, we can follow the trend of affairs. And at any point in time, it's possible to know where there's so much eye problems and what is being done about it. Another thing is the approach of universal eye health, where each and everyone has a right to have eye health. And for me, that's another thing where efforts are being made to break down the barriers. And it is very, very important for us to make sure that we make accessibility a big issue. By accessibility, I mean both the distance from where they are to the eye service area. Number two is the accessibility as a result of financial constraints. And then the social part as well. Formerly, eye health was thought to belong to NGOs only, okay? You can count off where there's so much eye health happening. You can look at the NGOs who are heavily investing in that. But with time now, we do have governments getting interested to make sure that they own the program and trying to get the NGOs to come and supplement their efforts. And that's the change in mindset that actually has happened so far. And for me, that is a very, very big thing that has also happened. And so the ownership of the program is gradually now moved to the state governments, the national governments, and now NGOs come to supplement. And then once they have reached a point or pointed them elsewhere, they move on to other places where their help is needed.
So you've seen many changes over your 35-year career then. It's exciting to hear you talk about the past and how things have changed and this level of ownership that the government is taking. And I think that gives the local people maybe a bit more confidence and a prioritization of eye health.
Yes.
What do you wish people knew about the importance of eye health?
Actually, one time was given a talk somewhere and asked people, what do you think the eye is used for? And someone raised his hand and said, it's used for crying. Okay, it may sound funny, but eyesight is one of the most important senses we have. In fact, 80% of what we process or what we perceive comes through the sense of sight. And if people knew just this fact, we take better care of our eyesight. By protecting our eyes, we would reduce the odds of blindness and vision loss, while also staying on top of any developing eye diseases. And so what we would recommend is that even if your eyes have no problems, we recommend that after age 40, you get your eyes tested at least once every other year, just to make sure everything is in order. Because our goal is to try to get the people to have good eyesight for as long as possible. And that the eyes are the windows of the body. And so if there is something wrong with the eye, it could be there's something bigger underlying factor out there. Could be diabetes, could be hypertension, could be sickle cell, name it.
I really love that you brought up the importance of getting your eyes checked, really at any age, but it can give insight into some of those other underlying conditions that might not seem associated with vision loss. So I think that's so important. I also think what you said about the male at the conference who said eyes are for crying, it is like that. That's true too. There's some emotion in how we work with our eyes, and also the senses that you brought up, that's so important. So I think that's kind of fascinating that that was their first answer, you know, they're for crying, and it is an emotional piece, and as well as this bigger you know, issue of your senses. So that's a really interesting perspective. I never thought of that. In your whole career, maybe, you know, in the 35 years you've been practicing, or just with your work at Operation Eyesight, can you tell us a story from your work that's really inspired you to keep pushing this eye health agenda and keep really contributing to these communities?
The places I worked, there are two places that I want to share some examples. They're very common, and the theme is collateral benefits. Okay, we were invited into some communities, one in Kenya in the Narok district, and then Zambia in Sinazongwe and the Gwembe districts because of trachoma. Now, as you know, we have to apply this food safe strategy, and that means water and sanitation were very, very key if we would want to sustain the gains that we've had through the treatment and the surgery. Otherwise, they bounce back. Now, Operation Eyesight went to the extent of actually providing water to the communities, because you cannot tell someone to keep their faces clean when they have to walk 10 miles to get water. So we brought water as close to the communities as possible. And as a result of this, a lot of things actually showed up that we were not even thinking about. One is the spilled over water, as they pump it, was channeled into a trough where their animals came to drink. Then from there, it goes into a garden where they can plant vegetables. Because water is available, they were able to keep themselves very healthy. So when we checked at the nearby health center, discovered that the real diseases had gone down, skin diseases had gone down, the children with malnutrition had reduced considerably. And also, an interesting thing is a nearby school which was actually almost closing down, because it's the school girls that were sent to go for water, and now water was available. So there's nothing like drop out. They had water to mold bricks to build. The community built a school around and there are several schools actually that have cropped up around the water points. And so school attendance got bigger. And so when I sit down and look at all these, it's one of the biggest achievements that has come up. Once the trachoma went down, we started discovering the other blinding causes like cataracts and other things and so in one of the communities, like in Sinazongwe, now they are not just looking at trachoma, but they're looking at all types of eye diseases. And for me, this is a very, very interesting thing that has impacted me also.
Amazing. I really love how you talk about the access to water, and in those communities, how it's kind of full circle. It's feeding the cattle, it's watering the garden, and it's really affecting all aspects of life, not just eye health. It's bringing people back to school, it's feeding people, it's taking care of the livestock. That's something that's really inspiring to me. Is Operation Eyesight often looks at the full picture and really, you know, combats a lot of those issues that we need clean water for. So I love all our clean water projects, especially what we have going on in Ghana and Zambia. It's so top of mind, and I really see the full impact to community. So I love that you told that story. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome. Most welcome.
I really appreciate you taking the time, Dr. Bo. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. You're a wealth of knowledge. You have so much experience, and we're so lucky to have you on the Operation Eyesight team. So thank you so much, and happy World Sight Day to you and everyone in Ghana.
Thank you so much, Christine.
You have a
Keep
great day.
well.
We'll talk to you soon, Dr. Bo.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again. Bye.